So in today's video, I'll be discussing the top 3 prospects that the Knicks should be avoiding with the 11th pick in the 2022 NBA draft, which will indeed be including some of the prospects that many Knicks fans are liking in this draft. And even though these prospects are really talented and could be good NBA players, they just aren't the right fit for the current New York Knicks regime and their situation. So with all that out of the way, now let's get into the first prospect that New York should be avoiding with the 11th pick. So the first player that the Knicks should be avoiding in this year's draft with their 11th pick would be Memphis' center Jalen Duren. And last season, Duren averaged about 12 points, 8 rebounds, 1 steal, and 2 blocks per game. And he averaged shooting splits of 60% from the field and also 62% from the free throw line. And he did not make a single 3-point jump shot. But the main reasoning to why the Knicks should not be targeting him with their 11th pick this year would be because of the situation with Mitchell Robinson. And even though it's currently up in the air on whether or not Mitchell Robinson will re-sign with the Knicks this offseason, according to NBA Trade Report on Twitter, the Knicks will look to move center Nerlens Noel this offseason, and re-signing Mitchell Robinson will become the top priority. So take the report with a grain of salt, as we still do not know exactly if this is correct, but this definitely is encouraging in terms of re-signing Mitchell Robinson. And the Knicks have Jericho Sims as their backup center, who's definitely a rotational piece. And of course, they have their veteran Taj Gibson. But even if the Knicks are unable to re-sign Mitchell Robinson this summer and he leaves from the team, this still does not mean that they should look to draft a center in this year's draft. Mainly because Tom Thibodeau does not like to play rookie centers, especially those that start. And personally, I think that he would rather sign someone like Mo Bamba in free agency or trade for a Miles Turner or Daniel Gafford instead of drafting a center like Jalen Duren. Mainly because those players have much more experience in the NBA. So now let's get into the second prospect that the Knicks should not be selecting with the 11th pick. So prospect number 2 that the Knicks should not be selecting in the 2022 NBA draft would be center out of Duke, Mark Williams. And last season for the Blue Devils, Mark Williams averaged about 11 points, 7.5 rebounds, and almost 3 blocks per game. And this is while shooting about 72% from the field and 73% from the free throw line. And he also did not make any threes last season. And one major reason to why the Knicks should and probably will not select him in this year's draft is because he is still a developing center like Mitchell Robinson was a few years ago. And Tibbs clearly wants to win now with an established NBA center, and Mark Williams does not fit that criteria, as he will need at least a few years to be developed into a legitimate NBA center. So with these two center prospects out of the way, now let's get into the other prospect that's not in that position. So the third and final prospect that the Knicks should not be considering with their 11th pick this year would be the wing out of the New Zealand Breakers in Uzman Jiang. And last season for the New Zealand Breakers, Uzman Jiang averaged about 9 points, 3 rebounds, and 1 assist per game, while shooting a pretty bad 27% from 3-point range, 40% from the field, and 67% from the free throw line as a 6'10" forward. And at only 19 years old, Jiang is way too inefficient for a team like the New York Knicks with Tom Thibodeau to select him with the 11th pick. And he's not a good defender, so that's definitely showing that he will not fit with Tibbs' rotation. And this is why the Knicks should not consider selecting him over guys like Johnny Davis, Benedict Mathurin, or Dyson Daniels, or even Jeremy Sohan. So with that being said, let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think of these 3 prospects, and do you want the Knicks to select them the 11th pick? And all 3 of Jalen Duren, Mark Williams, and Ousmane Jiang are projected to currently go into the lottery in the NBA draft on June 23rd, and they could be around during the Knicks selection at pick number 11. So if you guys did enjoy this video and want to see more New York Knicks draft content like this, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and it's been KNYT here, and I'm out. Peace.